Okay, so it's been a few weeks since I've been able to work on the cycle here, and it gave me enough time though to get this old float out of here, and we got the new float in. So now it's the moment of truth. We're gonna turn this baby on. Turn on the key. Oh my God, look at that. Look at that. Gas gauge is up. If I move the float, this float is working perfectly. So this one, if I move the gas gauge, you can see it's actually functioning appropriately. So let me put the float actually in where it goes and make sure that this thing is successfully working as we think it should be. Like this. There we go. I think it's line up like it's supposed to line up. There's a little notch here. It's supposed to go over top of a small notch down there when it's all in. And I did put this thing on upside down, so hang tight. Okay, just to point something out to you guys, it was not on upside down. This piece right here that I'm taking off right now, this was on this side of this, which made it look like it was supposed to go down, but that's actually not the way it goes. It must have just been the way it was for shipping. This is supposed to go over top of the float and actually help make a seal here when this thing is in the tank. So if you guys ever get one of these, this apparently, once I can get this thing to line up here, this is how this should be to make a proper seal in the tank. And then this piece does go on so that the pointy ends are up like this. And then I just gotta make sure it snugs in to place, and we get this thing turned and pushed in. So let me use two hands for that because I can't do it with the camera. Another thing to note, if you got to pay attention more than I did, this is a replacement for one that is already on here. So which is nice, because if you happen to lost yours or it was a seal that was a problem, you get a new one with the new float kit. And by the way, I'll put all the price in the description. I think it was like $6.99. It's like really cheap. But you can't put it on with both of them because it just won't fit. So I was trying to force it in there, realized there were still two of them in place. You only want one of these things in place, and just one O-ring, and that'll be done the right way. So now let me get it all tightened up. All right, I wanted to give you guys some updates on where I'm at and what I'm doing. I've taken a couple panels off the front because I was trying to determine why this headlight was not working. And by the way, I think in the video I pointed out that I wondered if there was actually turn signals up there. There are. There's front turn signals and everything wired in there. They're just not working right now. And I took the light out. I actually wired it directly. I looked at it. It's supposed to be a 12-volt bulb. I wired it directly into the battery. And in one of the positions it works. I have a feeling the bright setting is burned out on it, but the bulb does work for testing. So I've been trying to dig around this thing and find out what's been going on. And I turned randomly, trying to do something else. I had turned on a continuity test with my multimeter, and I apologize. I only have one hand, and I can't find the tripod that I was using before. So I got my continuity tester out, and I was going to check for voltage in this main connector here against the red and the black, and I accidentally had it on continuity, and I don't know if you heard that before it fell. There's continuity between the red and the black, and it's most likely not good. So I started trying to trace wires down this thing, and I finally traced them back. I couldn't get the body off all the way, but I traced them down to here, and it used to have a cover on it, but I started ripping the cover back because I realized these wires, I think the reason I'm having a problem is there's one of the, I don't know if they got chewed, it's hot, or they're melted. So I think they got hot, and many of them have melted together, and I'm pretty sure this is the source of my problem right now with the electrical. And it's interesting too, because I didn't have this problem before when I was working on this. I can't even get it to keys. Got keys on. Yeah, I can't even get it to try to kick over anymore. And I'm sure that's because I've been pulling at these wires, and I probably disconnected something in the wiring harness. But when I was trying to run it a minute ago, it would run and sputter and die, and I couldn't get it to be consistently running. And I wonder if something happened since it's been sitting here I don't know if an animal got to it or if it just literally got so hot they melted. I can't imagine just sitting here that they would have gotten so hot they melted. It very well could have been like this the whole time. I never actually looked at the wiring harness. Or it could be something that just happened now. So I'm going to see what I can do about this. I don't know if I can put some wires, splice some wires in and fix it, or if I'd be better off to try to find how to purchase an entire wiring harness for this vehicle. It might not be too bad if I can find one for a good price to just rewire the whole, like run a brand new wiring harness for this thing. But I'm curious if I can get this thing just up and running the way it is with headlights and everything. So I'll keep you guys posted. All right, guys, so electrical issues aside, which I haven't quite figured everything out yet. I did pull a bunch of stuff out. I got to, the CDI module and all that. It looks like I'm running a temporary wire to test some things. It looks like this green wire is the ground wire. It just basically disintegrated in this wiring harness. And it looks to be like the only wire that seems to have taken a lot of damage. This one right here is taking a little bit, but everything else seems to be intact. I don't know what happened to that wire. Still can't make any progress on the lights yet. We'll continue to work on that. The problem I'm running into now is, oops, the panel fell off. Let's see. You'll see in a minute. Hold on. I'm running. It won't idle anymore. It just bogs down. If I really crank the handle, it bogs down as well. Not sure what's going on. See how long it runs for here. And it's sputtering. It's about to die. Yeah, and it's dying on me. And it wasn't doing that when I first got it fixed. I don't know what the problem could be. Could be a couple things from what I'm told. What I'm going to do is get a carb right here. And they're actually not expensive. They're only like $18.99 or something like that online. But I'm going to see if I can pull this carb out and service it, because the jets might have gotten clogged in it. I've never serviced a carb before in my life, but we're going to go for it anyway and see. I was told in some of these models, though, you can't open the bottom of the carb where the float is and everything. So I got to take it out of here to find out if I can open it or not, or if I just have to buy a new one, because they say they're non-serviceable versus serviceable ones. So we'll find out. So hang tight. So here's the carb. Unfortunately, as I was informed online, it is not serviceable. That is it upside down. This, and this are supposed to be the screws that you're able to remove, but they basically are just pressed in there. There's no screws to be able to remove to get this piece off to go check the jet. So, I mean, they're going to have to like soak this thing in like brake cleaner or something like that, or purchase a new one. Because I can't get in there to find out. And it's a shame, because I'm not sure that the carb's what's the problem is. I'm just taking a guess at it, and I don't really want to spend money in something that I don't even know if that's the problem or not. So I don't know what we're going to do next, especially considering I still need to get the lights working. All right, so amongst other things, new carburetor has arrived, and as you can see, this one's got some screws in those spots that otherwise make the other one so you can't service it. So time to replace that with this, and we will see if that makes any difference to the current problem we're having. Okay, so new carb has been swapped. I had to swap the accelerator cable, the drain plug as well, or the drain port or whatever it is. Got all the hoses back to where they go. I've got it plugged in to power. Now, moment of truth on this thing here, and if the carb was actually the problem. I think my battery has died. So nice thing is I installed the kickstart in here, and I can kickstart this vehicle. So let's see what happens. Might take a minute. Make sure. Hang tight. well then. So I'm trying to hold the throttle in just one place, and maybe I just need to adjust the idle of the throttle without kicking into gear. But literally, if I hold this in one place, it seems to run fine for a minute, and then it just kicks up. And I'm not even moving it. Look, tire is not spinning, so I'm going to back off of it. I don't know about this one. So the problem is, right when I got this thing up and running again for the first time, I didn't seem to have this issue. Doesn't seem like it was a carb problem, because brand new carburetor. Well, let's work on some other things here. So I did notice, see if I can get this thing to set up here. I did notice that these taillights, I put or the headlights, turn signals, excuse me, were actually getting a voltage. I checked both the bulbs. Both turn signals were blown. I find that strange that both front turn signals were blown, but that seems to be the case. So I now have new turn signal bulbs right here. So we're going to try to put these in, see if that works. I also want a new headlamp bulb, just in case, even though that one does not seem to be getting power appropriately. In case that was the issue. So let's go. No, look at that. Left turn signal. Right turn signal. So the turn signals. the turn signals were that easy to fix. Yep, turn signals were that easy. I do notice. Oh, it died. Notice the turn signal's on. You know, I have that indicator light, but I don't have the one for the left. Somebody told me it might be because it was dead, but the bulb was out. But clearly, it's not still working, even though the ball's in there now. But look at the backlight, the back display. It flashes. It's not obviously not getting a nice, consistent power source that it wants. So I don't know about that, but let's kick this thing off and let's replace the headlight just to see if that fixes that problem as well. So now this is odd. When I have my brights position on, nothing happens to the bulb. When I turn that off, I actually have a headlamp. I am not sure why that would be. Clearly something's wrong with the brights, and that's a brand new bulb, but maybe that explains why the other one wasn't working. So besides the brights on this thing, lights seem to be taken care of now. The problem is it's about to stall out. And being that I've changed the carb, I'm not sure what else it could be. And I know a lot of people talk about changing the or checking the valves in this. So I've watched a couple of videos and checking the valves, which involves taking this whole assembly apart and getting little shims that have 3,000ths and 4,000ths of, you know, inches or millimeters, whatever the hell they are. I don't know, and making sure your valves are adjusted appropriately. That looks like a little bit more intense of a job than I know how to do, and I was hoping all this other stuff would have fixed our problem. I don't know though. So just an update here. As you can hear, this thing is running. It's not running great. There seems to be, well, I didn't know that this was a, turn this thing off. This is apparently an idle adjust screw. So I can adjust it and have it idle a little bit higher without messing with, you know, this piece of it right here, which seems to work out okay, but it's very inconsistent. I'll show you what I mean by that. Let me start it up. Starts up just fine where I have it all adjusted to. Seems like it was when I originally got it running, which is great, except for if I crank the throttle and let it go, it'll still bog down. The light gets really, really dim. It may or may not cut out. Right now it's running, but it's running very, very, you know, it's about to cut out. I can pick it back up by giving it a little bit of throttle, which is, you know, probably something I can deal with. I don't plan on taking this thing very far. If it cuts out on me, I need to start it back up and get going again. I mean, that's what I need to do. I'd rather get it fixed. I don't know what it is. Sometimes too, just sitting here, and I wish it would do it, you'll see that it'll idle really high and then hover idling high for a while and then go back down, and maybe you'll momentarily see it. Like, it'll idle high enough that the wheels start spinning. Waiting for it to, I can hear it picking up a little bit, but not too much. But since I've been sitting here messing with this, it's done that a couple times. It'll idle really high, wheel starts spinning just on its own, and then here it goes. I'm not touching anything. You can hear it getting faster. Not fast enough for the wheels start spinning yet, but it keeps doing this, and it'll cut back down. And I don't know. I just wish I knew what it was. I mean, it runs, though. I haven't yet even taken this thing on the road, but want to get some of this stuff done. So basically, I figure at this point, they got the lights working, except for, you know, I said the brights. When I turn the brights on, that doesn't work. Light itself works. All the turn signals work now. I just need to run that new ground wire, cut out this ground wire, run a new green down into the wiring harness, down to where it was all destroyed, and connect it back up into, it's somewhere back here, into here where the ground actually connects, and replace all those green wires, and I'll run a new ground, put this thing all back together, and give it a test drive on the road, I guess. Okay, so here we go. Time to fix this green wire. What I am going to do is I have purchased a bunch of wires. I got a nice green one here, so it can match. I brought out my soldering station with my heat gun. I've got some shrink wrap. I got some, you know, wire snips. Everything I'm going to need to try to replace this wire. So what we're going to do, I'm going to start running the wire now. Hopefully I can get the wiring harness bundled back up and start putting these panels on, because these panels right now are making it look like a not finished bicycle, and I want it to be done. So let's go. Why is that freaking annoying? Look at this bee star flying around here, and decided that my coffee was where he was going. So now my coffee is useless, but what are you gonna do? Well, so that's annoying. The bulb was like jammed up in there. I don't know. It was sitting out in the rain without the cover on, so it was very possible it just got water in there and it got rusted. But it got jammed up in there so hard it wouldn't twist, and when I finally did get it to twist, it broke the bulb. I don't know if that's why it's not working, or if it's, you know, coincidence that this also happened and then it, you know, stopped working as well. But it looks like I'm gonna have to order another new bulb. But the turn signals still work fine. So let me get everything else put back together except for the headlight and all the panels back on, and see how this thing does. So I realized I really am almost out of fuel. So I do think that my float is working just fine. As you can see when I turn this, if I move the float all the way up, I do have a full tank of gas. I do think it was just too low to the point where the new float was not hitting the fuel. So I think that part's going to actually work just fine. The concern that I have is, you'll see I have blue towels stuffed in here. I looked in there and it was able to get a really good shot. And if you'll notice, this is what the fuel looks like. There is just floating, I don't know if it's rust or what, but it looks disgusting. So basically, and this is pretty much all the fuel I got in there besides what I spilled on the ground, because, you know, I made kind of a mess. And I believe this is the fuel filter. It was also filled with rust. I think what I'm going to do is purchase another fuel filter. They're cheap. And trying to clean out all the rust that I saw floating around in the bottom of the fuel tank is what this is for. This very well could be the reason why this hasn't been running very well. So I'm going to work on that, get the finish getting all the panels put back on, and then hopefully just be stuck with dealing with this. And since I have to buy the new light bulb anyway for the front, I'll probably order the fuel filter and see if that can make any difference. Well, here we go. It is all back together. It looks good again, besides this piece right here. This is still actually apart. It needs a little dry. I got a little wet in there, but I need to get the new light bulb anyway. So I'll let that sit out in the sun. But hey, this thing looks good. You can put the seat back in. If only it ran well. That would be ideal, huh? If only it ran well. But give it some time, maybe, if I get the new fuel filter. And I cleaned out the fuel tank as much as I possibly could, and I don't know if it's going to be good enough or not, but hopefully it is. I shoved the towels down there, moved them around with a long handle stick and everything, and got as much rust out as I possibly could. So when I get those pieces in, after I order them, a light and a fuel filter, we'll fill it back up and see what happens. All right, everybody, after many months, we are back to this thing. And, well, I got a couple things left to do that I think I can try to do. I put on the new fuel filter, and really, I just need to put the the light in, but that's kind of secondary. It's like a wet day out here. Now with the new fuel filter in, I am curious if this thing is going to start up. So I have got some fuel here to actually fill it up with, make sure it doesn't leak anywhere, and we'll give this thing a try. So hang tight. Turns out the fuel can I bought does not have a flexible end at all, so I have a feeling I'm going to spill. What? Well, that's why. It's got a, oh, that's pretty cool. It won't even actually spill until I push this button in and pull back. So that would explain why it doesn't have a flexible end. But I'll make sure we're not leaking around anywhere. Doesn't appear to be. I can see, try to see where the camera's at. See some fuel in there. Let's see if that's enough just to try to clean this out. So turning this on a little bit, the battery must be dead. I checked this thing yesterday and the battery was not dead. Actually, there it goes. That was weird. So it's got a little bit of fuel on the gauge, but not much. But let's see if... So there's fuel coming into the new filter. I can see it. All my other lines are still hooked up. It's just been a while since this thing ran, so maybe it's just going to take a while. Maybe I should try to Kickstarter. I just broke my tripod. It's completely snapped it. There's one of the legs. There's one of the legs. Well, that was interesting. There we go. Ha! Look at that. Look at that. There's that revving I was talking about before, but let's get some of that clean fuel to get through this thing. I do have a feeling that part of my problem before was just that the fuel was dirty. Fuel filter was dirty. You know. Probably need to adjust that screw a little bit. Oh no, it's still bogs. Look at this. Huh. So, after all that, so far the same thing. Well, maybe it just needs to have some fuel run through there and clean out. That Bendix sounds terrible. So it looks like we made progress. It actually is staying running. I just had to start it up a couple times, and it smoked quite a bit out of here for a little while, so I think it was just burning up some old stuff that was in there, and then it kind of went away, and it's running much smoother to the point where whenever I crank on this now, there's no bogging down anymore. I think we did it. I'm not going to say it's like 100% perfect by any means, but I think we did it. I did break this wire on accident, but I will show you. I can just take this upstairs and solder it. If I put it in the brights position and put this back where it goes. You see, we got it. And then my bright signal actually works on there, which is weird. If I turn that off, though, just to do normals, it does not work. So I don't know what's wrong with that still, but whatever. What are you going to do? Well, let's give her a look over. So here we go. It is looking all back together. I even put this guy on there, which actually makes it a little bit difficult to access the gas tank, but it's okay. I still filled it up. Sadly, despite all my efforts, all my best efforts, I filled this thing up now, and this thing, fuel gauge, still does not work, which is unfortunate, but there we go. But everything else on this thing seems to work. Corn. We got the lights, not the brights though. Brights turn off, whatever. So you get normal lights, turn signals. Turn signal. Actually, just shut off again. I gotta give it a run. Turn signals. So there's everything. There's the mileage on this thing. And now we are going to give it the first inaugural ride. I haven't ridden this thing yet at all. So we're going to ride it just up and down my alley because I don't have any plates or anything for it right now. So hang tight. So she runs. She actually runs fine. It was a little bit bumpy, but I mean, it's a scooter. The one concern I would have, this brake is very, very, very loose and doesn't really seem to do much. This one works fine. So this brake is definitely a good stopping brake. And all I can feel, it's like squishy too. So that brake probably needs some work. When I stopped, it kept running, it kept idling. I wonder if it felt like it might have been about to stall a little bit. So it probably needs a little bit more TLC, but I don't plan on keeping this thing. I just wanted to do it for the project of actually seeing if I could figure out what was wrong with it from the beginning. Because remember, I bought this thing completely not working. That turned out to be relatively easy. It was just the mechanism in here that had caught everything up. I got that fixed and it was running beautifully. And then I let it sit for a couple weeks while I was working on some other things. And that's when it started to have all these problems with bogging down, stalling out, things like that. So I guess that's it. I really wish the float would have worked. Unfortunately, it did not work, but you know, what are you gonna do? I got this thing farther than I expected, and now I'm gonna put it up for sale. I'll probably put it up for a 200 or best offer, even though I know I've got way more than that invested in it. I bought the thing for 250 broken. I did it for a project. I probably spent, you see all the money I spent on it in the description, but it probably adds up to, you know, $70 to $100, something like that. It wasn't for the money, it was for the experience though. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Finally bring this saga to an end. Couldn't fix everything on it, but as you can see, it runs. See you guys in the next video.